I feel like a big dumb monkey sometimes talking to people.
Oh, not at all, man. You're well traveled, and yeah.
Well, I'm trying. I'm honestly trying. Greetings, citizens of the internet. Hi guys, Miles here with the Questionable Content Podcast, and I have Peter Zing on, who is a founding member of the Transhumanism AU. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's right. How you going, everyone?
Yeah, well, so I guess my first question is going to be, what exactly is transhumanism?
I think it's a movement that's been going on since the 70s, but it's basically about the convergence of human biology and technology. So you can take it to that various levels. If you're looking at what's happening with smartphones, people are pretty much glued to them already, and you're just seeing a natural evolution from smartphones to virtual reality, and eventually you'll have a synthetic sort of bond with technology. You're already seeing people putting NFC chips in their hands. So we call that the biohacker community. And it's essentially looking at, okay, look, the pace of technology is now evolving so fast that people are starting to realize, on a yearly basis, on a monthly basis, that this stuff is changing really fast. And it's all about this, exponential technologies and things that go along this curve called the law of accelerating returns, which is dubbed by Ray Kurzweil. So Ray's a bit of like, it's a god for all the transhumanists.
Yeah, I was actually just about to bring him up and ask him, is it's sort of like what Ray Kurzweil's been saying about the singularity, and eventually will be this sort of integrated technological / biological organism up to the point where we just discard the biological entirely.
That's exactly right. Yeah, so he's popularized the concept. He's working at Google now. He's made all these predictions that most of them will come true.
Yes, yeah, that's one thing I've found really interesting about that dude is I work in IT.
Cool.
So one thing that really fascinated me about him is like all of his earlier predictions about the growth of technology and how all of this would sort of unfold. He's been right about.
Yeah. And, if you try to predict things, 1 year, 2 years down the track, it's a bit hard because, there's lots of changes, geopolitically and all those other things.
Right.
But if you look at, the way that the pace of technology works, for example, Moore's Law, that's a predictable thing, right? Even though we're coming towards the end of Moore's Law because the silicon chips are getting smaller and smaller, he says that there is a next paradigm. So you're essentially having these steps of exponential growth. When the supply just got to keep up with demand, the costs have got to come down, or you got to have some other way to double that for the expectations of the market. So the capitalism works that way. So you have a shift. So the next jump paradigm could be potentially using graphene to do those chips. 3D chips as well. So we're looking at a variety of ways to improve to the next paradigm.
Yeah, I've done a bit of reading on the graphene batteries, and those things are amazing.
Yeah.
That's going to be some crazy technology. And I heard Google at the moment is working on like a Google Glass equivalent, but it's a contact lens.
Yeah, that's amazing. That partnership with Novartis, so that's going to be, first they're going to get into the bloodstream, right?
Right.
You've already got the tear duct so you can measure your glucose levels. So for people with diabetes,
that'll be
that's
amazing.
A godsend, right? Yeah, exactly. So without having to get these little stings on your finger all the time.
Yeah,
for cancer patients, they got to do regular blood tests. That's a
right. My grandfather was a diabetic, and how awesome was that? Like we got him toward the end of his life. He's passed on since then, but he used to have he had a watch that would measure his blood sugar levels through his sweat.
Oh wow! Yeah, no. If only we'd paced the technology a bit further and got more investment in there, he might be still alive today. I'm sorry to hear that.
No, well, it happens. And I think that's one thing that was one kind of crazy thing that I think Kurzweil was going on. He was talking about the ability to rebuild his father based on the memories that he has of his father.
Yes. Yeah. So there's a startup now called Hume AI that's, purpose is to do that entirely, looking at all your social media posts and, your emails, your voice texts and all those sort of things, and combining that into a single sort of framework with an AI layer across it. So, there's things like NLP that just understands the way you talk, so it's got that personality attribute to you.
Mm-hmm.
And working, at my job at Deloitte, we're looking at all those sort of things right now.
So I guess my only extrapolation from this is there was an idea about like the superorganism and us as a whole, or us as, if you look at, how life is sort of spread out, it all seems to be smaller things that support larger and larger organisms. Even ourselves are made up of a lot of a large percentage of us isn't really us. It's all bacteria and things that support us.
Yeah.
That's why it's good to maintain a good, healthy human biome. But this idea that we are also a part of that, and that the thing that we're doing, the things that are intrinsic in our nature that we don't even know that we're doing, like this constant pursuit of technology, is going to bring about this artificial intelligence, or we are going to create the next form of super life, if you will.
Yeah, this collective intelligence is already happening with the internet, right?
Yeah, I saw something really, really interesting recently where they transmitted I believe it was Spanish, or it may have been Portuguese. I'm not entirely sure, but they transmitted a thought, a one-word thought from one person in New York, I believe, all the way down to someplace in Mexico. And it was all through the internet, and it was just a thought. It wasn't like something typed on a screen. It was just somebody concentrated on this word, and they were able to pick up those signals, decode them, and send them across to another human's brain, which I thought was absolutely astonishing.
I know, right? Telekinesis. That's the way to your telepathy, right? I think they're about like 70-something% accuracy now, and they're just going to get more and more accurate. Like like with image recognition, like with natural language processing, it's just going to keep on compounding and growing exponentially as we go by.
So I read something recently that was very, very interesting to me, and it's you ever heard of simulation theory?
Ah, yes.
Yeah, so
it's always a good Friday night talk, isn't it?
I know, right? I know. Well, it hasn't been on this podcast yet, and I think it definitely needs to be there. And I want to find somebody that would be capable of sort of exploring that idea. It's a fairly difficult concept to wrap your head around, and I'll admit I'm not the brightest bulb in the bunch, but I'll give it a shot. So forgive me if my understanding is a bit crude. But my understanding of it, just in case anybody of the listeners out there aren't sure what the simulation theory is, it's that we live in a simulation, basically. And there's all sorts of little pieces of evidence that potentially point to this being a reality. There was a philosopher. He expanded on a theory. I think the guy that originally came up with the theory in physics was Hans Moravec. And the guy who came up with this, he's a philosopher, and he came up with this sort of extension onto this theory in physics. His name was Nick
Bostrom.
Yeah, Nick Bostrom. That's it.
Yeah.
But yeah, even like Elon Musk and Bill Gates, like they support this guy or have subscribed to this guy's ideas. But if it's possible to be, let me see if I can get this correct, because it is a fairly wordy thing that I'm still trying to kind of wrap my head around. But if it's possible to be done through advanced technology, simulating reality. And physics supports, I mean, wouldn't the physics of the universe that created a simulated technology be very, very similar? Because those things would be much easier to compute. And also, is it not possible that if a people, I guess, or whatever the original reality is, created a simulation, wouldn't that simulation within its laws of physics also to be able to create a simulation? And if that's the case, how far does that go? And is it possible? Is it not even just possible? Is it even more likely that we are a simulation within a simulation somewhere in that chain, and we don't exist in that reality?
That's exactly right. So, once that possibility escapes, then you exactly know that it's more likely that you are in a simulation that's built by a higher advanced civilization than unlikely, right?
Right, exactly. And I mean, I don't know. Just trying to wrap your head around that thought is just it's a very, very crazy and out there idea.
And this is also playing to the it's when they're talking about when you look out to the galaxies in the universe and you don't see life forms. Like why is that? And one of the advanced life forms, right? And one of the answers to that was could it be that rather than expanding out to the universe, the advanced civilizations actually invest their energies internally, right? So looking within, so into a black hole, or essentially going into the virtual world, the simulated world, because there's more to discover within that world than there is potentially everything that they already understand in the physical universe.
Right, and also just because of the laws of the universe, as far as we know them, like I'm still convinced that it's what we know about the nature of reality is probably a good bit, but there's probably a lot more that we don't know.
Yeah, exactly. About 95% that we don't know.
Yeah, exactly. There's lots of things we have no idea about, and that's fine. It's totally okay to not know things. Some things are, right. Just. But as far as we know, there's no way to transmit or get ourselves from one place to another without an extremely large expanse of time. Either through traveling, which is impossible given our current lifespans, or sending a signal, which is limited by the speed of light. So what was
looking at the wormholes, right? So yes. They were saying that it takes a lot of energy. You got to figure out this, this theoretical particle that essentially allows you to create these wormholes to keep them open,
right?
And then send through, through bending space to send through messages.
Well, what do you think about entangled particles?
Oh, that is really cool.
Yes,
the fact that we've got a provenly working quantum annealing computing machine through D-Wave. The fact that they're using, the quantum mechanics to create those calculations, the specific calculations to do with optimization, is just extraordinary. I didn't think that was going to happen so quick, but Google and NASA and who was the other company? One of the aerospace. Oops. Yeah, so those guys, they've actually tested it and actually thought it was right. So. Yeah, entangled particles is just like, Einstein was like, spooky action from a distance, right?
Exactly.
When you think about it, it really blows your mind. But it's to actually communicate using that sort of methodology is, at this stage we're not sure if we can actually go faster speed of light still, because you still need that entangled particle to send through physical space, or to tell the other person what was the spin top down, the original. Yeah,
that's true. That's true.
But it's just all this stuff. It's all you see. This sort of the movement is bringing in the scientists, bringing in the computer scientists, right? The biohackers, the people that are vying for a basic income in automation. This transhumanist movement covers all of those things. And I think that we're just seeing recently a convergence of all the people that are passionate about these topics, and it's really exciting times.
Yeah, that's absolutely amazing, man. I really like it. That absolutely just blows me away. That's one of the I guess here it's very difficult to talk to people or to find people that are interested in this sort of thing. Especially not necessarily the country as a whole, but especially the part where I live. It's just not a very open-minded community. I still have many acquaintances at work that they believe in. They haven't bought into global warming, or some of they're I'm sure it's a good percentage of them. They don't buy into evolution or any of that. And so to talk about anything that's even farther than that, I mean, it's just impossible.
I mean, I can totally understand, right? They're caught up in their introverse. There's this term called introverse. They're surrounded by the people that are providing them the feedback, and it's all positive. It's like, climate change isn't real. This is no such thing as evolution. Why you got to look at all this sciencey stuff? You got all the Bible, right? Or any other thing that they're reading. It's sort of like, well, these communities, they're creating these silos. And I think, the internet's doing a good job, providing that information out to the public.
Yeah, that's one thing thing I'm absolutely terrified about is potentially finding myself in one of those sort of internet echo chambers of, surrounding myself with people that agree with me. That's one thing I really don't want to do. I want to have, differing opinions and stuff. But stuff like this, I mean, I saw your Twitter bio, and I absolutely couldn't resist. Because there's just no one here that's capable of. I don't know about no one, but it's difficult. I'll put it that way.
Oh yeah, I mean, Twitter's a great tool, but there's a lot of spammers up there. I'd probably say myself as a spammer, like just sharing articles and that sort of thing.
That's very true, but I mean, how many people do you know with a Twitter page that doesn't have some sort of public push or some sort of like public face or something they're trying to get out there, like some sort of advertising? Like the only reason I have a Twitter account is for like promoting my podcast or promoting my videos. I've had YouTube channels before this. So
exactly.
It's I mean, I'm not just available on iTunes at the moment. I'm on YouTube. I'm also on iTunes and a couple other sites as a syndication thing. But
to these days, right?
I'm sorry.
You've got to these days, right?
Yes.
It's just so I could cover all of it. It's like,
yes.
I've seen this.
Well, I mean, the end goal. So at the moment, I'm working in IT and I work in the security field, and
Cool.
it's an exhausting thing. So I'm trying to push into this podcasting thing as more of a permanent venture.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
But you're in a good spot. I mean, it's going to be a huge, it's an exponential technology, right? Cybersecurity, it's coming up.
Oh, I know. I'm well aware.
It's aligned with it, right? So it's great.
It is, but my problem is there's not a lot of here. There's not a lot of investment in the security field from the perspective of my employers, and I haven't like looking at the people that like it's easy for me to find a job, and that's all well and good. But there's not a lot of people willing to invest. Like, for instance, the past 5 years, I've been working for a company, and it's just been me in the department with no sort of no tools for looking at the network or even figuring out what kind of security or what our security posture even is. And, just trying for years to try and get them to do something about it it's exhausting. And also, so the number of good security people here in the country, let alone this area, they're almost non-existent.
I do.
Yeah.
Well, that's why you have a lot of like black hats, white hats.
Right. Well, that's
in that field, right? They created the market.
Well, that's what I used to be. I used to be an ethical hacker, and I did that for about 3 years, and I really, really loved that job. It was amazing. Up until a point, like I'd say only like 25% of my job was like the actual hacking bit. The rest of it was writing reports and stuff like that to give to customers and debriefing executive staff, stuff like that.
Still, you're getting paid for hacking, right? That's
yeah, that was still a pretty awesome job. I did get to describe to people like, oh, what do you do for a living? Well, I break into banks for a living, legally.
Yeah. That's right. It's got
and
a permit.
yeah, and it came up. There's lots of interesting stories like dumpster diving in a 3-piece suit. Yeah, I've done that one. Or the we had there's a large Quest hub. It's basically you can rent out space. It's a large data center. And they were right across the hall from our office. And during a little, I guess a building get together, we were all sort of sitting around having a party. Their CEO, but our CEO, we couldn't social engineer our way into their data center. So two of our better engineers they followed the UPS guy and got in through there while the party's going on, brought him 2 cases of backup tapes and set them right in front of him during the party. It was amazing. I'd been on the cop cars many times, in the back of a cop car in handcuffs many times and trying to explain to the police officer, no, just look in my bag. There's not a gun there. I promise. It's not a bomb. Just look in the bag. There's some paperwork signed by the CEO. I'm supposed to be doing this.
Watch the first season of Mr. Robot.
Oh, I loved Mr. Robot. Mr. Robot was amazing.
Yeah, I know. I'm so glad that sort of stuff is mainstream. So, more and more that sort of stuff, all the popularization of what technology is capable of, science popularization. I think all that stuff is doing good to the community in a whole.
Oh, I do as well. I really and truly do. I just wish it was more prevalent here. That's all.
Yeah, that's all right. What you're doing is great. I think, I dig that. So,
I think, and also with the whole career thing, I'm not that motivated by it anymore. I mean, it's great, it's fine, it can make money, but I'm just not. It's all right.
I'm on the same page with you, man. Having clients is just you completely have to dedicate all of that, and they don't know what they want. So it's like you're trying to tell them what you want, what they should want, but at the end of the day, it's still the linear thinking and. You got to get them on board with the whole exponential stuff too. Yes. So it's a challenge.
Yeah. So I guess the idea behind the show is more to, I guess, is more of a sounding board for. We can sort of change things around here. We don't have to be. I guess it's more for spreading good ideas. And so I'm more. I don't know. I feel a bit more passionate about it. I mean, I do. Just look at the learning, even from Google. Like, there's nothing. I'm pretty confident there's nothing I cannot look up and figure out how to do. So one of my more favorite pastimes is figuring out how things work and how to do things around the house. I've taught myself how to play 4 or 5 different instruments just off YouTube videos and
nice
tutorials online. I mean, it's if you actually push into something like. Looking at what the internet can teach you, it's amazing. But it's also, cat pictures and porn.
Exactly. Yeah. It was saying, when next 5 years, when another 4 billion people come on the planet, it's going to be just more porn and cat videos, right?
Yeah,
So
pretty much. But that's okay. I think that
exactly.
those sort of things, like, they help support the overarching idea of what the internet could be, which is eventually. I think. I mean, what do you think about the thought of being interconnected mentally with everyone?
Oh yeah, definitely. I think it's what Michio Kaku calls a type 1 communication system, right?
Yeah, exactly.
It's democratizing, the whole thing. So knowledge, and you're going to see that not just through just general searches, but anything to do with knowledge related work, right? So think of the lawyers, think of the doctors. That's already happening. The automation of that side is already happening. So Dr. Google, lawyer, lawyer Google. It's all in the works. It's coming up in the next 5 years.
So with technology sort of taking over, like it has, I mean, do you think that there's going to be a downturn in jobs?
Well, yeah, I wouldn't discount it all, right? So that's the whole, so all of the think tanks have sort of reported this. You've seen the headlines going like 46%, jobs been automated, and there's always arguments to say, look, there's going to be more jobs that get created as we have done so in the past. But I think when you're going to eventually, right, get to a point where the software is the same as the wetware that you have in the head, and then you can also have better, right, than the wetware that you have in your head. So essentially, everything that a human can do essentially will get automated in X years, right?
Right.
And what the transhumanists think is that year is going to be 2045. So 30 years, typically companies don't look beyond 5 years because look, they've got an investment, timeline. So they're looking at maybe 2 to 3 years max. But if you want to stay, as a Fortune 500 company relevant within 5 years, then after 5 years, you're going to have to start thinking about this sort of thing. And the typical investment thing is like you go, look, 70% of investments go into the 1 year horizon, 20% go into 1 to 3 years, and then the 10% should be focusing on existential risk, right? And existential risk as a company, if you're a Kodak, right? If you had done that, which came up with the first digital camera, then you would still be here and be at the Instagram.
Or like Xerox originally developed the mouse and then fired the guy who invented it for wasting time. And Apple picked it up and it blew away the industry.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. That's just how big corporates work, right? So once you've made it as a firm, you pretty much just trying to protect that revenue source. You're going to protect the core. And, as the Singularity University guys say, it's all about, the immune system of the company responding to the startups or the innovations within. So naturally, through the KPIs that the company could have, it kicks out that sort of thing. So you're seeing the startups in Silicon Valley and all around the world doing a lot better than Jobs, creating the innovations that are out there. And it's just glad to see that guys at the Googles, the Elon Musks, and those guys, they get it. They subscribe to this exponential thinking and they do something about it. Now, back on the automation side of things, look, every time you've automated something, that job is no longer there. So, you think of driverless cars that's coming up, but even
that's going to be so good. I enjoy motorcycle riding, but oh man, that's going to be so good.
I know, right?
I can't wait for that. That's going to be amazing.
So awesome. And the timeline's actually, been improved. So people thought, it's not going to happen until 2020. Now it's 2018. It could be 2017.
That's right.
CES this year, all the cars are getting onto the electronics.
It makes sense. It makes sense. Like, I should be able to walk out of my house, press a button on my phone to say, hey, I need a car. There's community vehicles that just drive themselves, and they're available for everyone. Yeah. And you get in the vehicle, takes you where you need to go, and it goes off after you've gone into work. It goes off and does its own thing and picks up more people and everybody moves around, and it's efficient.
Exactly. Yeah. I can't wait for the Uber prices to go 10%, of what it is right now, or what Google's charges when they after the Ford partnership,
right?
And they come up with a product. So that's why I haven't driven for about a year and a half now, right?
Wow.
I live in the CBD, so it's sort of like
it's a little bit easier.
Me a lot of money. Yeah, exactly.
That's one thing I really enjoyed about going over to the UK and various other places. They just have a much better public transportation system. Like, it's amazing. It's amazing, the public transportation system. Whereas is here, I have to walk 2 miles just to get a bus, which is not always there on time. I'd say a good 80% of the time it's not on time.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. And a lot of people don't know what's better than that until they're actually shown by example, right? And the whole society adopts that sort of thing. So, you got to add in a few buffer of years for the society to adopt and the regulations to catch up. But when the value proposition is there, when the price are like it's 10 times better, then you guys.
Well, we just got Uber not too long ago. Yeah, so I haven't checked it out yet, but I'm definitely interested.
It's so good. It's the reason why I stopped driving. Uber X is it's half my taxi fare. So I was just like, all right,
brilliant.
Do I hire a car or do I keep a car that's pretty much equivalent to hiring a car for half a year?
Or a buddy of mine, he just recently moved to Seattle and he brought his car and everything with him. And I know quite a few of my friends have moved to Seattle and they don't they bring their cars up there because we're so used to needing them down here. And it sits in a parking garage. They pay for parking. They pay their car note and insurance and everything. And it's just like, well, why? I don't ever use it.
I hate being stuck in traffic. I hate
parking, exactly. I enjoy my bike, but I enjoy it on days when there's little traffic out in the countryside somewhere. I don't driving through traffic is miserable.
Yeah. What we have in Australia is the Transhumanist Party, and what we have.
Oh, you have a whole party. That's amazing.
Yeah. We've got a political party, and we're in alliance with the Future Party, which is a registered party on the AEC. So we had recently had an election, and as part of that, we had a collaboration with the Cyclists Party. Right. So these guys are like, all right, we need better infrastructure for the cyclists because everyone wants to kill me. Right. They're cycling on the side of the road. Car might just open their doors and it will take out someone because the lanes hadn't been properly widened for that infrastructure. And we're like, okay, look, cyclists, driverless cars, that's a natural fit. Cars will be able to recognize that those objects are coming. It'll make your life, insurance policies go down, and it'll make your life, live,
I guess the implications of the whole automation thing is just that eventually, this whole idea of us, working for our basic necessities is just going to fly out the window.
Yeah.
At a certain point, it's just going to become ridiculous that everything's automated. There are not enough jobs to provide us money in order to afford the things that we need.
Mm-hmm. I mean, that's exactly right. Yeah. So when the driverless vehicles come on board, look at all the truck drivers that you got. Are they going to reskill in their lifetime?
Exactly.
Something else? What are you going to teach them? Right. You've got.
Well, that was a big hit also to the specialized. There's a big hit also to the specialized welding field. Really, intricate welding jobs. They're you can still find a few to buy from Boeing and manufacturers like that still require welders that weld by hand, but a lot of it, most of the welding jobs are now just all automated. Yeah.
And I'm really appreciating, what the guys that, Andrew Ning, for example, he used to work at Google, now at Baidu, and, he had the foresight to set up Coursera. So it's like, all right, look, the automation revolution is coming. How do we upskill these people as the demand's going to go up and up, over the next 5 years? So great foresight, and then the Udacities and the Khan Academies jumped on. It's all fantastic for the online learning community, right? But you also need governments to come on board as well. So right now, our universities are still stuck to the physical. They're not they're really providing on as advanced as they should be. At the same time, that basic income, we've also got a community called the Basic Income Australia, where we're learning from them to adopt the policies like Finland has. And this initiative is going to be part of our policy framework in Australia.
Yeah, I've been reading about some of the places that are doing this, and basically what they're doing is they're providing the base for you, so you get home, food, shelter, the what you need. They're just providing that to everyone.
Yeah, and essentially working. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, when you think about it, it's a stick or the carrot, right?
Right.
What happens if you don't provide this sort of basic income and necessities thing? People are going to be on the streets rioting. They're going to be like, where the hell are my jobs?
Right.
You promised me jobs. The jobs are automated because you've lifted up minimum wage, and the robots essentially been a value proposition for the companies to take it up. So where are my jobs, right? And so you provide this basic income so that they can pursue whatever they're passionate about. Look, you're going to get people that are just going to sit on the dole, as we call it here, right? And then you're going to have people that are generally not wanting to do, a job that they don't want to do, and actually want to just pursue their passions. But
Right.
they're being discredited from it because there is no basic income framework.
Exactly.
What we're trying to achieve here is look at the minimum wage, set that as standard number of hours per week, and you calculate that in Australia is about $30-something thousand Australian, right?
Right.
And I think that's a good start.
That's very good.
Essentially, yeah. I mean, our minimum wage is much higher in Australia.
Yes.
Right?
Yes. Ours is piss poor, and I've been there, and I never want to go back to it. It's a terrifying proposition, but I'm considering it more and more. I'm considering it.
Oh God. Yeah, exactly. But why would you have someone working a minimum wage doing something that could be automated?
Right.
So you want to promote the innovations in robotics, in AI, in every sort of growth sector that increases productivity without needing human labor.
Right.
And we're trying to achieve that, utopia of, everyone can just sit back and relax and let the robots do the work. But how do we get there is the most hardest part. And it's about a mindset change.
Oh yeah,
It's great to see the government coming on.
Right. That's about what I was going to say is that's one thing that concerns me is that I think we have to do a lot of evolving the way we think about things as an entire group, not just, the select few of us, in order to reach these future goals. And what the thing that terrifies me is what if we don't? What if we don't evolve the species as a whole toward these ideas? That's some terrifying propositions.
Yeah.
Really, really bad ways what things could go if we go down that road.
That's right. And that's just democracy. What if you had a dictatorship where the leaders of the country are linear thinkers, just want to keep to the old ways, right? And there's a lot of other countries around the world that are like that. So I think there's going to be probably a lot of conflict, a lot of political debate, but it's going to be a hard road. But we all know where to aim for, at least. This is why we started the movement here in Australia, right? We've set up community in Sydney, and Adam Ford. Yeah, not sure if you've heard of Adam Ford. He's he started the Australian chapter of Humanity Plus a while ago in Melbourne.
No, I hadn't heard of him. The only other Australian company I'm familiar with is the one that gives they give a certain amount of time. I forget how long it is, but it's a significant amount of time to their employees as paid time to work on whatever projects they want. I forget where that was out of, but I know it's in Australia somewhere.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's like 2 weeks or something like that, where they get 2 weeks to pursue a passion. Like it's paid for by the company. They want them to go and do this. And at the end of the 2 weeks, the people come back and share their ideas with the group. And like they've made some amazing stuff just out of this whole practice that they're doing with their employees, which I think is wonderful.
Oh, that's a really good initiative. Yeah, let me know the name of it. Yeah, it'd be good to reach out to those guys to see if they're interested in here. But Zoltan in the US, right? He's been our PR machine for all this movement. So you've probably heard of Zoltan, right?
Yes.
By now, he can't escape from him. He's like a Donald Trump alternative, almost polar opposites, right?
Very true.
I think they came up with a Chrome extension to block all Donald Trumps.
Really?
Mentions on your newsfeed.
Oh, that's going to be amazing. Yeah. That's going to be a wonderful thing.
Talk about a walled garden, right?
Right.
But yeah, I mean, that's.
It terrifies me that he's the front runner for a large national party of ours. That's terrifying.
I'm surprised he's gotten this far. I love.
So have I. So have I. I can only think it's got to be a joke. Somebody's got to be screwing with us. Nobody can be seriously considering this dude as the leader of our country. Seriously.
Just on election day, just like, sorry guys, that was the biggest.
Yeah, that's the biggest troll ever.
Rick roll ever.
Yeah.
That's right. Oh, dear. But yeah, it's just funny watching from another country on what you guys are up to. So.
I can imagine. Well, one thing I really enjoy is in other countries is getting the idea from the people how they feel about America or how they view Americans. And one thing that overwhelms me, like there's a big vein in America that likes to think the rest of the countries think we're idiots or that we present themselves poorly. They don't actually think that. There are not a lot of countries that think that. I mean, if you're making fun of us like the stereotype, like we stereotype everyone else, seems to be the thing we do as humans. It's not. It's funny, but nobody really thinks that Americans are these people. What they do think is, we've got definitely some issues. But they don't blame they don't look at the American people that way. They look at the American government that way, and the American government is a giant, colossal mess.
Yeah, yeah. It's evolved to like a big corporate almost, right? That red tape, the linear thinking, all they're doing is really protecting the core, which is staying in power, right? That's
right, exactly what they're doing, and also it's not just that; it's also that the laws that allow corporations to sort of influence politics are just all evaporating. So it's kind of like you can't have companies that are run for profit telling us, being our government. Like that's just a bad idea. And I don't think it's and also in that, I don't think it's any individual within the company that I mean, there may be a few bad apples. But most of the time, it's
incumbent.
It's right. People are just carrying on the momentum of the company. That's its natural sort of flow state is to do this thing.
Yeah, the board's just doing whatever's good for the shareholders.
Exactly.
Right? And the incumbent's going to defend what their territory is built up. The whole point that they exist as a conglomerate.
Yes, exactly.
That's just how it works, right? So that's why there's market failure, right? And you got to have government legislation to step in to change that market failure, and then it's a sick, vicious cycle, as you can see, right? It's the market failure is just going to be hard to break.
Well,
cycle.
I don't even understand like half of the I guess how the whole market works. Like I tried watching, or I've tried wrapping my head around the how the whole economic downturn that we had in 2008, how that whole thing came about. Like what kicked it off with the whole housing market and AIG and the security backed debts and all this craziness, and none of that makes any sense to me. Like I kind of can see what they were doing, but it was just kind of like, who thought this up? This is just ridiculous. Why does it have to be that complicated? It just seems ridiculous.
Yeah. And that's when you see the sort of corporations having so much influence on government policy that no one wanted to ask the right questions.
Right.
Everyone's too busy enjoying the great times. So if you have, the voters not caring and the corporates just enjoying it and the government's just following whatever the corporates will provide, then you're going to get to a point where it's like not common sense no longer applies, right?
Exactly.
So Keynesian economics assumes that there is rationality for the market, but clearly there is market failure at certain points, and even right now we see it at multiple times. Things like externalities like pollution, the global warming thing. At least there's some initiatives around the world. You got to break that externality by stepping in.
Very true.
So if only we can apply that to society as a whole, and try to get this age of abundance that we're all trying to dream up of, it'd be a good start.
Exactly.
That's why I think politics is a vehicle for this to happen, if not just a PR campaign like Zoltan is doing. But if you do get the right policies set in, the people in power will respect that and adopt it, right? And the people, at least the ones that are reading out, right? As opposed to ones that are just trying to stay in power. But get those policies right, and then other people adopt it. So it's just a simple copy and paste, and that's how all the minor parties do it in Australia.
Yeah. I like Australia. They've still got some weird stuff in their laws, but I like Australia.
Yeah, we do.
You've still got a bunch of craziness, but it's okay. It's overall, it's a really cool place. Like a lot of countries in especially that I guess countries attached to like the EU countries. I have no idea. I'm pretty sure Australia is not a part of that. Are they a part of that? I don't know.
No,
I'm a typical American. I don't know a whole lot about your politics.
Apparently, we're Asian.
Okay.
Australasian.
Okay. All right.
We've just been grouped that way.
Fair enough.
Nowhere else to put us. So.
But still, like there seems to be a lot of like even like Scandinavian countries are amazing for this. But even some other countries, like just look at some of our neighbors like Canada or Brazil. Like there seems to be a lot of good things that they're doing. A lot of really good ideas that they're actually trying to gain some traction with. I just don't see it here sometimes. I really don't. I think like people like Elon Musk. Oh man, that guy's my hero. Like, I mean, that is amazing. And not only that he's done all these great things and pushed for all these great technologies, but he also just genuinely seems like a decent person.
Yeah.
Like he's not just an asshole out there to make a buck. Like he seems like a really good, really cool person.
Oh yeah. He's all for the future of humanity and all that, right? Apparently he's an asshole at work, but you got to have that to get you done, right?
Exactly.
If you got a deadline, how do you get there? You can't just be the nice guy. But the guy has vision, right? He gets the concepts, the Nick Boströms, and he gets the whole Ray Kurzweil, what's going to happen. So I'm so glad that there are billionaires out there, him and Bill Gates and all the other guys that are working on this. Larry Pages, they're working on these sort of things that are going to make a difference for humanity, and they can do it, right? So governments just step in only because they got voted in, and they're just really trying to make things as they are, right? But these billionaires can actually do it. So
I agree. So did you see the thing on SpaceX? They successfully landed a rocket.
Oh yeah, that was quite a good environment in that room, eh?
Yeah. I enjoyed that. That was great. So I love watching things like that. There's been a few. What was the recent one? There was one that was it was some physics equation that I don't even begin to understand the physics equation or how it works. But it was something that it was some small underpinning of something that ties quantum physics to relativity, Einstein stuff. And it's I don't think it's like some big mind blowing thing, but it's just something that we seem to have a lot of lack of knowledge in that area.
Yeah, exactly.
And
physics
right
down.
And they were telling these two physicists that had come up with this. The experimental guys were telling these two physicists delivering them the news that their theory is correct. And it took them something like 10 years to test and figure out. And it just blew them away. Just the looks on their faces you could tell that they were stunned. And it was a very beautiful moment. Like they opened champagne and everything. And then
yes. It was the B shapes. The B shapes when you're looking at it, to the background radiation, cosmic background.
Yeah, I think that might have been it. Yeah.
Yeah, is that the one? Yeah, I don't know. I don't think they verified it through peer review yet.
Okay,
I think they found some anomaly that could potentially create the B shape. But it's just seeing those physicists, being able to find out in their lifetime, right? Whether their predictions, 30 years ago was could have been a thing. So I think that's amazing. And Higgs boson discovery, right?
Right. Well, that's one thing. That's one thing I wanted to try and do. I guess I spend an exorbitant amount of time at work, really, and also have a family, so that eats up a lot of my time. But I don't have any time to invest in the things that I'm truly interested in, like all of this stuff. And so I feel like a big dumb monkey sometimes talking to people.
Oh, not at all, man. You're well traveled, and yeah.
Well, I'm trying. I'm honestly trying. I'm not the most traveled, or I'm just trying to, I guess, I don't know, pursue something I'm interested in, make it worth something to other people, so that I can sort of create some sort of building structure.
We need more people like you out there, really, asking the right questions, and pursuing the passions. Well, that's what life should be all about.
I agree, and I really appreciate that, man. I really do. But I think that brings us to a good logical conclusion. I really appreciate you coming on. I thoroughly enjoyed this talk, and I'd love to have you on again. Especially if there's anything that you come across, or anything that you want to sort of put out there and give a voice to, by all means, man, give me a call. You'll come on back. We'll have a conversation about it.
Definitely. It's been a pleasure, Miles. Yeah, I'm looking forward to chat to you again.
Certainly. And that's all, folks. Thanks for listening.
See you.